Eve. We're pleased to welcome now Chris Brown. He's the Northern District Public Service Commissioner for the great state of Mississippi. Hey, Commissioner, good to see you. Thanks for coming on.
Good morning, Gerard. How are you doing? It is a
Doing.
beautiful day in Mississippi.
It is. It's August. It's a little warm, but honestly, not that bad. It's not as sultry as it can be, not as oppressively humid as it can be in this time of year in Mississippi, but we appreciate you coming on. So help us understand what's going on in the Holly Springs Utility Department. This is, and that's in your area, in your district. This is quite the ordeal. Walk us through that. I'm not sure most people that are tuned in are familiar with what's been going on in Holly Springs up there in northeast Mississippi.
Well, Holly Springs, it came to the legislature's attention in full light a couple of years ago. There was an ice storm that started to show the extreme deficiencies in the system. I was in the legislature at the time, and Senator Whaley and others tried to figure out a solution through that crisis. And so then Speaker Gunn allowed me to go into the district to try to discern what's going on and how to find out exactly what's going on so we can try to make a path to solve the crisis. So we had a series of hearings in Holly Springs in 2020, it was in 2023 or 22. And so learned a whole lot. The TVA was on the ground, TVPPA was on the ground. We got MEMA on the ground to try to understand what's going on. So the legislature commissioned $500,000 to go to a TVPPA report and then give the rest of the money to Holly Springs to do some vegetation control. Well, the TVPPA report was done and it came back pretty scathing. And so we started moving down the process. The governor and the legislature passed a bill that the governor signed in April 8th, 2024, Senate Bill 2453, that allowed us to have some sort of oversight as the PSC. And to that point, we had no regulatory oversight really over that system. We could suggest things and we could put pressure on them, but really didn't have any path to get resolution to what we found out was a pretty severe crisis. So the city management at the time slowed the process down. So basically, the legislature passed a bill to allow us to go in and find out exactly what's going on, interview the employees of HSUD, get their side of the story, try to understand the deficiencies and what's happening and what's going on to try to help the people of that district. The city manager the mayor at the time was very dilatory, so she slowed the process down quite a bit. So we started to try to get our work done shortly after the bill was passed, and they stalled, which put us 4 months behind. Thankfully, in this last election cycle, that mayor was defeated. We have a brand new administration that is helping because they understand that this problem was not created in a year or 2 years. This is decades in the making. The system is really in bad shape in the fact that they haven't had proper vegetation control. They haven't maintained their systems. They've not poured money back into it to update the system. And this is no reflection on the employees of HSUD. I think out of 12,000 connections in 5 different counties, some in Mississippi, some in Tennessee, they do not have the manpower or the expertise to tackle the system, and it's so degraded that it's very difficult at this point to get it back to where it needs to be. And so as we find out more and more, it gets more and more grim up there as far as the condition of the system. And again, that's no reflection on this current administration or the people working at the utility district, but that doesn't matter to the people that cannot rely on their lights to come on or their air conditioner to be going today on a hot day.
Yeah.
We had even one funeral home reported that they can't rely on their chillers to keep the dignity of the deceased intact because the power could go off and stay off for 48, 72 hours. So it's a really bad situation, and we're joining hand in hand with TVA, TVPPA, the legislature, the state to try to come up with a solution.
So I've got in my hand the report from the third party, Silver Point Consulting. I mean, it's a voluminous report, and it gets into significant detail. I scanned some of it. It's incredible. I mean, even going into the procurement practices employed by the HSUD. So is this a problem, Chris, we may see in other public municipal utilities?
TVA, as TVPPA, is kind of the co-op representative of all the utility districts in the TVA Valley. There's 153 of them. HSUD is the only one that has this issue out of 153. There are complaints that come into TVA as a result of HSUD. I think they testified to us it was almost 70% of all their complaints in the whole Tennessee Valley come from HSUD.
Wow.
And
70%.
Yeah, so the complaints that come into TVA, because TVA is the wholesale power supplier to HSUD, and they have the direct oversight on the financial side. So we came in on the operations side. TVA is actually filed a lawsuit against them against HSUD because of lack of payment and then not following guidelines in the contract, in breach of the TVA contract.
I mean, within the entire TVA footprint, Commissioner, the town of Holly Springs is what, 12, 15,000 residents? Something like that?
The city itself is about 6,000, 7,000. But the unique situation with HSUD is one of only 3 municipally owned power companies or utility districts that go significantly outside of the city limits.
Okay.
So 70% of the customers are outside the city, and they don't have representation. So they can't go to the polls and vote out the city council or the mayor if they're not being represented well. So there's a gulf there, and it's problematic, especially in HSUD when the bulk of the customers are outside of the city limits, and they don't have a say-so at all in how that district is run. So we're hearing they're suffering. So of course, the further you get from the city, it's less compact. I think they have 3 connections per mile on average, which is a very, very rural system. So the further you get from the city, the worse the service gets.
I see. It would appear, given that most of this infrastructure was installed a long time ago, and any that have not been consistent and current on their maintenance and upgrade and refresh and just replacement of some components before they fail is going to be a problem we will continue to see, especially in the rural areas. Is this true?
Yes. What the report actually said, on every level, HSUD operations were marked by lack of planning, documentation, and adherence to policy.
Okay.
It starts, and again, it's decades in the making. When you go up there and just ride around the district, there's vegetation all over the lines, and that's parasitic. So they lose a good portion of their energy through parasitic power loss because vegetation on the lines. It also makes it dangerous for anybody to work on that system. So I think TVPPA report came back that it's over $10 million that it's going to take just to have the vegetation cleared.
Wow.
Right now, it's testified to us that HSUD owes right now currently they owe TVA over $6 million and $3 million to contractors. So it's a system that needs help. The people deserve help, and we just want to let them know that we're staying the course. This is kind of the last segment is a show cause hearing coming up in September, and we're going to get to the bottom of it and we're going to have a resolution of this crisis.
Commissioner, we got a break upon us right here. If you can hang around, would like to turn our attention to just get a general update from the Public Service Commission and what's going on here, not only in your district, but perhaps in the state of Mississippi and the country. Are you good to hang around?
Yes, sir. Thank you. Appreciate you bringing attention to this crisis up there, too.
You bet. Commissioner Chris Brown is our guest. We're coming right back. Right now, we're talking to Chris Brown. He's the Northern District Public Service Commissioner. So before we move on, Commissioner, what's next on this Holly Springs situation? What do you expect?
So we're having a show cause hearing, which gives the utility district an opportunity um, to respond to the TVPPA report we just got, not the TVPPA report, but the Silver Point report that we just received. We just received it July 28th. So as soon as we got it, we moved straight to the show cause hearing. We're going to be in district for that. Where our district office is in New Albany, Union County. So
Okay.
we're going to have in district hearings, and so the public is welcome to come. We'll the HSUD will kind of highlight kind of what's going on there, and I think it's a perfect opportunity for the city to let people know that the current administration didn't do this. It's decades in the making, but we all have to join together to solve this issue because it is a crisis. It's very third. It's almost like a third world, not exactly, but the power is not reliable. If you don't have reliable energy, then you can't have economic development. You don't have that
Sure.
flourishing. And Holly Springs is right on I-22. It's a great opportunity. Once if we can work together to fix this utility district, that area will explode with economic development. So it's imperative that we get this right, not only for the safety of the people up there and our citizens and our neighbors are suffering, and we're gonna we heard the call. We're gonna stay the course that we fix this, but
Okay.
it's going to lead to huge economic development for that county, and that city, and that area when we get this right.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll have a positive outcome here. Do you expect that the city is going to take any action just to improve the situation and address some of these concerns and problems highlighted in this report by Silver Point? Because there's a lot.
There's a lot there, and so we're hopeful. Like I said, we have a brand new administration. Um, I visit I visited with the mayor and some of the aldermen personally, and
Okay.
they know they know what state the system's in. So we just need to work together to come up with a resolution. And the
Okay.
ultimate goal is affordability, reliability. When the three new public service commissioners took office, we focused on those two things. Without grid resiliency and without affordability, human flourishing does it stops human flourishing. Every dollar we spend on electricity and utilities is a dollar you don't have to spend on your family. So we take
Yeah.
those things very seriously. And reliability, it's hard to have anything if you can't keep your lights on or your medical equipment. I mean, it's life threatening if you don't if you have medical equipment at home and you can't rely on that power system to have reliable power to your home. Then it's a matter of life and death, literally.
Yeah, it certainly seems like it's also becoming more critical as we rely more on these cloud services being delivered by the various data center operators across the country, and all of those things are huge consumers of electrical power. Of course, you're aware that there are significant investments in new data centers being made in the state of Mississippi, in particular here in the Central District, and there are concerns about that of how that might affect consumer electrical rates, especially with the increase in consumption coming from these companies. We had your colleague DeKeither Stamps, the Central District Commissioner, on the program last week at the Neshoba County Fair. Had Haley
Mhm.
Versackley from Entergy on a couple of weeks ago, and they all maintain that they don't think that we'll see any rate increases passed on to consumers as a result of these investments. What's your take on that?
You know, we are pushing that. I actually met with uh, some of the representatives of the company yesterday, and you know, as if you watched our docket this week, Mississippi Power came in front of us, and they have a couple data centers, and we asked them that direct question.
Okay.
We want to make sure that we want economic development. We want to welcome these companies to come in to invest in Mississippi and to employ Mississippians. But at the end of the day, we don't want Mississippians to subsidize the generation or anything that these companies have to be here. So we are watching that closely.
Okay.
The numbers are I think it's pretty safe to say, and what we've seen is that with these investments in economies of scale and these extra this extra power generation, it should make us more reliable, and the consumer cost should be less with the companies here consuming the power than if they weren't here, if that makes sense. Um,
Yeah, that was
they're
certainly
not.
consistent with Entergy CEO Haley Versackerly. He contended the same, that what this really does is allows the company to make the modernization investments and the capacity investments they need to be making, that to a great extent are being passed on to this one or a couple of really big consumers, and so it's just an economies of scale dynamic.
And we're gonna be the watchdog. We're gonna try to make sure that the um, that these companies don't take advantage, because basically the Public Service Commission is set up because the the way utilities are done, you have a monopoly, and so you don't have free market principles at play. And so you
Right.
have one place to get energy, one place to get sewer, one place to get water. And when you have a monopoly like that, the the government set up the Public Service Commission to try to be that firewall or that counterbalance to that monopoly. So
Right.
the three of us take that very seriously. We know that every dollar that you pay extra in energy bills is a dollar you can't spend on your family. So affordability and reliability are our focus, and it even goes with economic development. We want you here. We welcome these companies to invest in our state. The phase one of AWS was $10 billion. It's a lot of money, but we don't want to subsidize. We don't want those those economic development projects to be on the back of of Mississippians and the ratepayers. So we're
Sure.
watching that closely.
I think that's totally appropriate and proper and just reasonable. Uh, in other investments in the state to just increase our power footprint, as you know, the governor put a group together back during the legislative session, I believe, which consists of industry leaders, of business folks, and others to just come to the table and make sure that Mississippi is ahead and not behind the curve when all these demands for electricity in particular may catch us off guard. And his idea is, let's get ahead of this and start talking about how we can make sure we've got sufficient power in the future.
Gerard, it's the most dynamic period of time in the utility space that we've seen in a very, very long time. I dare to say that it's more dynamic and impactful now than when since Edison discovered the light bulb, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
the energy consumption and how we're going to generate power is all at the forefront right now. And so we can look to other countries to see not how to do it. And I think the governor's spot on. You have to have dispatchable energy. You have to have reliable energy. You look at Germany. Germany was an economic powerhouse in Europe. They made bad energy policy decisions. Last first quarter of last year, they were bragging that 50% of their energy came from renewables. Well, that's fine, but they didn't focus. They didn't keep the focus on reliability or affordability. So what happened is they pay the second highest per kilowatt hour rate for power of anybody in the world. So they start losing their industrial base. So where are Mercedes built? Mercedes is out of Alabama,
Yeah.
BMW's South Carolina, Volkswagen's in Tennessee. Well, they're losing the industrial base, and now the per capita income, I think we just saw a recent report
Yeah.
that Mississippi,
Mississippi.
and that we passed them. Well, and it's incumbent that we make the right energy decision. I think that's what the governor's talking about. And I've met with the speaker and the lieutenant governor, and we're all on the same page. The,
Yeah.
the road forward is we have to have the energy supply. We have to have it dispatchable, reliable, and affordable. And that all points to natural gas and nuclear. Nuclear is going to be the wave of the future. TVA just commissioned their first nuclear reactor in Oak Ridge. Supposed to be completed in 3 years. Once that's completed, hopefully that's the design that we can replicate and bring the prices of nuclear down, and it'll power the future at a much lower cost than wind or solar.
I appreciate you coming on, and I agree with you. It is the most dynamic and exciting times, and I dare say American innovation will play a role in solving this problem. It's American capitalism and innovation will address this insatiable appetite we have for energy, which is a good thing because it powers the technology that's going to drive our future.
And
Appreciate
Gerard, I'll
it,
leave it at
Commissioner.
this. I,
Yeah,
I believe all energy sources ought to be considered, but it's got to be reliable, and you can't have market disruptions with
agree.
subsidies to disrupt the
Yep,
system. So glad the governor
appreciate it.
found me, the president did what he did. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it.